Hello and welcome. My name is Michael Wilson. I'm the digital content producer for KardasLarson. Today's topic is HR compliance. Are you ready for 2017? We'll spend this time exploring some of the latest and greatest tips on the HR compliance issues for 2017, what you need to be prepared for, and how to navigate through the sea of uncertainty. Now let me introduce you to our presenters. Lois Krause, KardasLarson's practice leader for HR compliance, and Nick Dawkins, managing partner of KardasLarson, who's recognized as an outstanding human resource generalist and business partner. Lois has a special expertise in labor law management and has spent many years helping organizations of all types and sizes to successfully develop and grow both their people and their businesses. Nick is known for his operations and human resource leadership in multiple industries and has helped organizations effectively manage cross-functional resources and align organizational goals and direction to ensure quality outcomes. Both of our presenters are committed to helping you maximize performance. Lois?
Thank you, Michael. And as Michael said, today my colleague and co-presenter is Nick Dawkins. Welcome, Nick.
Hello, Lois. Thank you for having me.
Okay, so Nick, I was thinking we should discuss the Patient Protection Affordable Care Act, or better known as Obamacare, and the new reporting requirements first, just to get it out of the way. It will be one of the first things our listeners will need to focus on in 2017.
Yes, Lois, I agree. Let's talk about this first. And with the election now over, the ACA or Obamacare will certainly be in the news a lot this year and beyond. There's certainly a possibility that parts of the bill may be repealed, but nothing will happen until after the inauguration on January 20th. The deadline for reporting has been extended. Please see the chart, which identifies both the action and due dates for the applicable large employers.
Yes, and remember this year, if you had 50 or more full-time equivalent employees in 2016, you will be required to fill out Form 1095-C for each employee who you provided medical insurance for, a medical W-2, if you will. And we do not suggest that you play the odds and not get this paperwork prepared for distribution in the hopes that this will go away after the inauguration. You can incur some hefty penalties if this is not completed on time. The organization will also be required to fill out the 1094-C to file with their tax forms to the IRS. And remember, this is for employers who had 50 or more full-time equivalents during 2016. As you see on the chart, March 2nd is the date that you need to give the 1095-C to your employees, their medical W-2, and February 28th, paper filing for the IRS for the 1094-C, and you can file March 31st if you e-file. And there are some other categories for self-insureds that are also listed on this form. Just want to make sure that you understand that you can download the forms from the IRS website, and then make sure that you will be in compliance for your 2016 reporting.
Yes, thanks, Lois. And it's always advisable to receive guidance and help from some of your other partners and vendors, such as your payroll company, accountants, benefits broker, or tax preparation professional to ensure that the forms are filled out and filed properly. Many of the outside vendors can be very helpful to ensure proper compliance.
And please remember that the PPACA is a tax law, first and foremost, and no one wants to incur the wrath of the IRS.
That's for sure.
Yep. Absolutely. And before we get into anything else, Nick, I think we should discuss the new minimum wage for Connecticut. As of January 1st, 2017, it rises to $10.10 per hour for the average employee. Also, as of January 1st, 2017, the mileage expense rate drops from 54 cents per mile to 53.5 cents per mile.
Yes, and this is one that, as of January 1st, so this is right out of the gate for all employers, that the minimum wage does go up to $10.10, and for restaurants and bars, the minimum direct cash wage for servers increases to $6.38 per hour, and bartenders to $8.23 per hour. Additionally, please remember all government contractors out there, you have to raise your minimum wage to $15 per hour. This last one, again, remember with the new administration and Congress, it could remain to be seen that this regulation may be changed, or put on hold. But at this time, all government contractors have to follow through on this.
Okay. Thanks, Nick. That's right, and I think that this brings us to our next topic, which is on everyone's mind. The Fair Labor Standards Act exempt salary minimum wages. They were up, then they were stopped by injunction, then the Department of Labor filed suit to reverse the injunction. What is your take on all this, Nick?
Well, so yes, this is a regulation that we all worked on for hours and hours throughout this year, actually throughout the past year plus. And that, yes, a Texas U.S. District Court judge granted a preliminary injunction. And that recently we also learned that the DOL appealed that injunction. The Fifth Circuit Court has granted the DOL's request for expedited briefing. And we're all going to have to sit back and watch how this process unfolds. The earliest for the next phase of this court battle cannot be anything earlier than January 31, which is after President-elect Trump is sworn in. Some feel that the DOL may drop the appeal, some don't. What is definite is that the new administration and Congress will certainly have the opportunity to determine the fate of this regulation.
That being said, Nick, we really should discuss the possible ramifications of organizations that have already implemented the changes for compliance before the required date. We've worked with a few clients on this initiative and helped some of them implement new salaries or changes of status early because they wanted to have it implemented during their fiscal cycle, which was earlier than December 1st, the December 1st deadline. This affects employees' compensation. This is a very big deal, and great care needs to be taken in deciding whether organizations want to change salaries or status back to the previous levels before they implement it. This can be very tricky and could cause great problems with morale and thus productivity. I've seen some research on this, and most of the HR organizations like SHRM and some labor attorneys agree that great care must be taken if there has been no implementation, but there's been communication to the employees. You need to walk a fine line to ensure that morale is not dashed. You could have a mass exodus on your hands and lose good talent and continuity. If nothing's been done and there has not been any communication, we believe you should just leave things as they are until this is fully resolved. Most believe raises already granted should not be rescinded. But if the status was changed from exempt to non-exempt, great care needs to be taken here as well. Some people believe it's a higher status to be an exempt employee and would love to go back to exempt status. And then others may have been exposed to overtime payments and may have become, come to like those. Unfortunately,
yes, I agree.
Okay. But go ahead.
Yes, Lois, I agree. One good outcome of this regulation is that it really helped employers focus on looking at their key jobs that may not have been classified properly, may have been exempt when in fact they should have been non-exempt. So really focusing on the duties test and making sure that a job that was misclassified was reclassified properly, and that really helped help them be in compliance regardless of the salary threshold.
That's very true. But unfortunately, when the regulation didn't go into effect for the new salary threshold, some people did change status, and you really have to watch out because they changed status based on the salary threshold changing. And if that doesn't change, then they could actually lose their exempt status, even though it was exempt for duties. They could lose the exempt status because they changed it to non-exempt in anticipation of the salary threshold going up. So it could be very, very difficult situation to reconcile. So each organization should do what's best for all concerned. And new communication plans must be developed in order to explain how you'll handle all of this and why the decision was made. And you will need some focus on the compliance piece for implementation and communication purposes. So if you're in a position to wait and see, you're pretty lucky. Nick, you have any other advice here you want to chime in on? Or you think we've covered it?
I think we've covered it. I think the important thing is that if you haven't done anything yet, don't, because we're not going to know exactly how this will come out at the end sometime in the new year.
Okay.
So,
what's up next?
Yeah, so another item for us to talk about and make sure employers are aware of is the new I-9. So there's a new I-9 that's been published out there. Employers can continue to use the current I-9 they're using through January 21, but must begin to use the new I-9 no later than January 22nd. The new I-9 is really interesting. It has some good electronic features. It's being referred to as a smart I-9. So it's really important for employers to educate themselves and their supervisors on this. The smart functionality of the I-9 can really help when and really ensures that when employees and employers are filling out the I-9 via a computer, that the form will actually verify. There'll be drop-down menus to verify, for instance, that an identification that's being used is valid and also placed in the correct section. So this I-9, compared to previous ones, has a lot more functionality within the smart piece, and many employers, when they educate themselves, they will know that to sit in front of a computer themselves or an employee to complete the I-9, there's a lot of advantages to do it that way.
Wow, this actually sounds like it can actually help people be in compliance. If it shows that the entries are made in the wrong place or if they're valid, that sounds like one of the good changes. I believe this will also help flow into the E-Verify program, because there are many organizations out there that use E-Verify, some of them by law if they're government contractors. And this seems like this would be very, very helpful to get all the information right to start with. So they always had to use the I-9, the paper I-9, and then put the information into E-Verify, but this will give them a leg up, I think.
Yes, I agree. The I-9 still has to be, certain things have to be printed, like signatures and whatnot, but you're absolutely right. There's this new functionality will certainly help employers.
Okay, that sounds good. Okay, what's up next?
So, yeah, so another regulation to be aware of is the new ban the box regulation in Connecticut. Ban the box refers to a box on your typical application, employment application, which asks an applicant to check a box, yes or no, if they have previously been convicted of a crime, felony, or even been arrested in the past. This applies to any Connecticut employer with at least one employee and does not differentiate if the employee is working in Connecticut or another state, just that it's a Connecticut employer. There is an exception, and the exception is that an employer may inquire about an applicant's prior arrests, criminal charges, or convictions on the application if the employer is required to do so by a state or federal law, or a security or fidelity bond, or an equivalent bond is required for the position. Employers can certainly ask about criminal convictions once the interview process has begun, as long as the application has already been completed.
Okay, so you're saying that if someone is a government contractor and is prohibited by law from hiring a somebody that has a conviction or has been arrested, they can have an application with the box or the information listed on it that people have to fill out. But they're the only ones. The average employee cannot have that information, that cannot be required to give that information on an application. Correct?
Yes. That does meet the exception. So if there is a law, federal or state, that requires that on the application, the knowledge of convictions, etc., then yes, they can ask that on the application.
Okay. Okay, so wow, we have this new political climate, and it's brought up lots of questions, and many things that we have to deal with are a wait-and-see attitude, I think. We'll have to find out which way things go, and but there are some clear changes in the state of Connecticut. The ban the box is clear and distinct, and the new minimum wage in the state of Connecticut is clear. And I don't think that the I-9 form will change either, so there are some things you can hang your hat on. But for a lot of the other things, or even for those items, if you need some help in the finer points of implementation, you can always give KardasLarson a call, and we'll be happy to help you navigate through this haze. So I'd like to thank everybody for listening, and thank you, Nick, for helping to put all of this information together for our listeners.
Thank you, Lois, and thank you all for watching this KardasLarson production. We encourage you to follow KardasLarson on LinkedIn and Twitter to receive information on future blogs, compliance updates, and any of our speaking engagements. And please subscribe to our KardasLarson YouTube channel to see our latest videos as we publish them. Thank you again.